Hey everyone, it's Ariel back. Today is a very special day. Today is day 30 of this challenge. It's the last day. And, it's towards the end of the day. It's nighttime for me now. And I made it. I showed myself that I could, No YouTube, no manga, no video games, no anime, and no bad sugars and sweeteners and stuff like that. Some cool little things to note is I've sustainably lost 5 pounds, and I'm really proud of that because it's not so much the 5 pounds, it's the fact that it's sustainable, right? It was gradual, actually losing around a pound, and around a pound a week, which is great, because that's the goal for me, is to have long-term sustainable habits and seeing things kind of gradually progress, because I feel like those are the things that stick. Let's kind of go through the 5 things that I stayed away from. I talked a little bit about the sugar, but let's start from the top. And I'd say the biggest one was no YouTube. It was a journey. It definitely was a journey. There were moments that I was so bored, and I was so I remember, if you guys look back to the first video of this challenge, it was just me terrified to start, and then I did. I think the thing that really was transformative about this, and I shouldn't use past tense, it is transformative, is the fact that I know that I can be bored now. And that's a weird thing to celebrate, but I do think it is something to celebrate. I can just be still. I can just be myself and be within myself and be okay, be comfortable in my own skin. Which is a journey. I don't think I'd say I'm more comfortable in my own skin than I was before. It was kind of, something that this journey taught me is there's kind of a down and up, kind of thing, where it's there's a dip where you feel actually all the things you're trying to get better are actually getting worse, and then they start to climb up better. And even then, it's slow progress. I mean, obviously, if you were to zoom out, over the course of a year, it would probably look something exponential, but in the moment, right, within its, to get more mathematical talk here, we focus on the neighborhood of a month. It does not look it looks far from exponential. So it definitely is tough, and it's not I'm gonna be oh, I spent 30 days away from YouTube, now I'm cured of all the things that that ail me. It's just not how it is. You have to remember, I was actively addicted. By active, I mean 8 hours a day addicted to YouTube and video games and manga and this and that, to the point where it didn't even become fun for me anymore. It didn't become something that was enjoyable to me anymore. For so long, for so many years, since I was a little kid. And it's gonna, I don't know how long it's gonna take. It might just be a lifetime of work to just get, further and further away from that, from the brain chemistry that kind of, instilled within me. There was a mentor of mine a few years ago who told me something that I told myself I would never forget, but I always forget it. Is and I need to remember it. He told me, Ariel, there's no upper limit to healthy human functioning. And that's kind of where I'm at right now. You know, like, things are better, yeah. And things seem like they're going to continue to get better. That's another big thing. There's hope in my life. You know, once I felt like I kind of, you know, proved that I could do it, that I could step away from these things for an extended period of time, it opened the possibility of staying off of it. And I'd say the biggest challenge has been finding things to fill all that time that I spent with those vices. I started a new job recently. You know, it's a salaried position, and I'm actually excited for it. And so, you know, that's taking up a good portion of my day. You know? And I still feel like I can do things afterwards. But I think a lot of times I'm still adjusting. Where it feels like any form of productivity is like really exhausting. And really daunting. I'd definitely say I've gotten pretty anxious over the past month, which I think could be both a withdrawal symptom, like a persistent withdrawal symptom of, like, you know, being away from all those forms of entertainment and, like, you know, stimulation. But it also may be, you know, me realizing for the first time that, like, there's like shit I gotta, like, work through, like, emotionally, that I was kind of medicating with these things, right? Because when I'm really honest about it, YouTube, manga, and my addictive relationship with these things, they served a purpose for me. Maybe they even served a good purpose in my life. You know, when I was a kid, and it was an escape from reality for me, from a reality that was really hard. For me, at least. You know? It was a place for me to escape to. It was a place for me to laugh with friends and, you know, people. I mean, you know, it's weird because it's like some of them were online friends that I've never, you know, that I haven't even met in person. Hey guys, I'm back. Sorry for the cut there. I had to clear up some storage on my phone because for some reason, like, the videos that I had uploaded on YouTube Studio, like, took up space in the phone, and so I just looked up on Reddit for that. I feel like they fixed that and it worked. So cool. Anyways, we're here. What was I talking about? I was talking about how I gotta work through some shit, and, you know, I'm just learning a lot about myself from this journey. Even though it's only been 30 days, it feels like it's like, you know, finally it's 30 days because it feels like it went by so slowly and painfully. But it also kind of went by quickly. I don't really know how else to explain that, but I think I'm really afraid of action. I'm afraid of conscious action, making conscious decisions to do things, because so much of kind of feeding into, like, systems that are algorithmic in nature, like YouTube, and, you know, even like things like Crunchyroll, right? Like, they're always recommending you new things. There's always more to do. It's an infinite sea of entertainment that it feels like a lot of times the thinking was done for me. The thinking was done for me. And that's a painful thing to realize. And now I'm in a place where it's like I want to make conscious decisions of what I spend my time doing, instead of feeling like I'm in some kind of subconscious trance, just being swept away by brain chemical after brain chemical. And again, that's just how I feel. That's not necessarily me saying that's what's happening, but that's definitely how it feels. And there's definitely been a lot of learning about myself. I think also, which I think is a good thing. I definitely think that's a good thing. It's for the best. And I'd say also another great thing that's been a wonderful improvement has been my relationship with my wife, and just just not being headphones in and just in my own world, away from everyone. That I could actually spend time with her and be present. And it's wonderful. It's a the world is a wonderful place, and people are wonderful people. And I say that despite the hardships I've talked about on this channel. And definitely feeling a lot more grief from losing my mother. Yeah. It's been a lot harder to sleep at night. I get a lot of, flashbacks to the hospice house. And I think what's crazy to me is it almost feels like my mother's death from cancer, which was a slow and painful death that I was there, throughout, especially towards the end. That feels more traumatic to me than my own father's suicide. And I don't know why. There's maybe it's futile to try and make sense of it, or maybe it's just kind of recency bias. But yeah, it's been really hard to sleep at night. And that's not how I want to remember my mom, but I feel like I can't help but keep on remembering her in her last moments where she was frail and broken. There's something so upsetting about that. It's an indescribable pain. Seeing what feels like is such deep suffering that seems like it's undeserved, and it's undue, it's unfair. And the past 30 days have had me thinking a lot more about that. I've been feeling my emotions more. I feel less muted. But that is a double-edged sword in some ways, because on one hand it's, thank God, I'm human, I can feel things. And there's a lot of pain I have to feel. I feel, that they have to feel and work through. But it can also be really overwhelming. Incredibly overwhelming. I think that I felt really alone in certain respects. In many respects, I'm blessed and I'm thankful. I have a wonderful, beautiful wife and a wonderful family, and maybe not my blood relatives, except for my brother. I like my brother, and my cousins. That's neither here nor there. That's not for me to talk about. And despite all that, I have a roof over my head. I'm not worried about money. You know, like, and that's not me saying that I'm rich. I'm very, very far from it. But like, I have an income, thank God. I have consistent money that I can plan around. I don't, and there's a stability to my life that I've never had before, ever, 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 ever. Which is a struggle in its own right, I should say. But going back to kind of the topic at hand, I'd say that I felt really alone. I've been feeling really alone since losing my last parent. There's something about being young, or being classified as young. I'm in my mid-20s. And to be without parents. I think especially being in a country where it's normal for people my age to have both parents alive. And it's not me, like, God forbid, shaming people for having parents that aren't alive. It's not me, like, I wouldn't wish this reality upon anyone, ever. And, it feels like a desert. Like, it feels like the pain is, and like it feels like a gaping hole in like my soul is, I feel like people just don't understand it. And like, the question is, how could they? Right? And I don't know how to feel about that. But I think that the way through it is through action. The way through this pain is through action. It's to simply feel it. But also to get help. To keep going to therapy and to take care of myself. And I think that's going to kind of bring me to the next, I'd say, like, chapter of this journey, which is I want to add things to do. I feel like I've taken away a lot of things that I shouldn't do, which is good. But so far I've added, do one hard thing a day. I feel like that's, it's pretty abstract. What's considered difficult is day in, day out can be very different. And I think maybe I should have phrased it differently, meaning that I want to be someone that accomplishes difficult things. That's the identity portion of it that I want to become. And maybe the actions and the habits day in, day out need to be more specific, to kind of align myself with that identity. And something I've been thinking about is getting back into the gym and just lifting weights, I think I want to start with that, but even smaller. My goal for the next 30 days is to come up with things that, and to write them down and really think about the things that I want to add to my life that I want to do every day. Like, every day, do them. Or maybe not every, I don't know. I have to think about it. Let me know what you guys think. Should it be something that, should I pertain it to only things that I do every single day? Or should it also be, or can I include things that I'm like, if my goal for the next 30 days is to go to the gym 3 days a week, right? That would be good, but again, that's also a double-edged sword, because that leaves room for bargaining, right? Like, the thing about stepping away from the YouTube, the this and this and that, is that there was no bargaining. You know, I guess the closest bargaining was like, you know, if I need to watch a video on YouTube for like, you know, me to learn how to do chazanut, how to be a cantor, you know, within, you know, through the Moroccan Jewish tradition, you know, yes, I need to figure out a way to do that without exposing me to everything else on YouTube, which I figured out a way to do, which is what I stick to, which is good, you know, because, you know, it's good for me to not be so absolutist. But there was still, like, you know, the bounds are very well known, I should say, right? And I really am someone that, like, you know, because I think maybe because of my upbringing and this and that, like, I have a really hard time, you know, doing stuff that's not right in front of me and is not relevant to, like, this exact moment. And so I feel like if I were to say, oh, just go to the gym 3 days a week, what's going to end up happening is that every single week, for the first 4 days, I'm not going to go to the gym. And then for the last 3 days, I'm going to rush to go to the gym. And, you know, sure, cool. But that's not really, you know, I feel like that doesn't really teach consistency, right? It doesn't really teach discipline. It might teach some form of discipline, but, like, maybe I need to set the bar higher for myself, which is both higher and lower, meaning that, for example, with the gym thing, I think the way to lower the bar would be for me to tell myself, in order to make it easier for me to, you know, get into the actual action of starting to go to the gym, would be just go to the gym. And not even saying that I have to work out, but I need to walk in the gym. I could be wearing anything. I could be doing anything. I just need to be in the fucking gym. Like, that's, like, you know, and the hope there is that, you know, if I drive there 15 fucking minutes, I'll be like, you know what? I'm already here. You know? And, you know, but maybe raise the bar in saying that maybe it has to be something that I have to do every day. You know, but which that would make certain things very difficult. For example, like Shabbos, right? Like, if Shabbos ends at like 9 p.m., the gym's not going to be open then. And, like, you know, maybe the answer there is to show myself that I have to go to the gym, you know, Sunday through, let's say, Thursday or Friday. You know, that I have to be ultra specific about the days that I do it on. And maybe that's a happy medium. That way, you know, I can build it up and, like, do something that's really, really difficult. You know, without making it impossible, at least for me. And that's just one example, going to the gym. I think maybe, like, you know, I have all these textbooks here, and I've always wanted to have a channel where I read through textbooks, and, like, I collect textbooks. I love textbooks. I've always loved reading textbooks. For some reason, I've just not read them in, like, what feels like a good, like, 6 months. Like, I've not opened a textbook and actually started reading through it in, like, 6 months. And, like, I have a lot here. You know, so I'm like, I still want to be a data scientist one day, you know, and actually, you know, and be someone that works in the data realm. And, you know, to do that, I think I have to build up a really good fundamental understanding. And while with my master's in statistics, sure, I have a really good fundamental understanding, but I feel like really solidifying those by studying the books, just hitting the books regularly and trying to create things, code things, and whatever it is, and also like I have like antique books, like antique math textbooks. For example, this is a book on higher plane curves from the year, I think this is from the year 19... What year is this from? I think this is from the 60s. I have ones from the 30s and 40s as well. I think this functional analysis one. No, this one. This one's really old. This is Applied Descriptive Geometry. That is really fucking old. This was back when a time when $3 for a textbook was considered expensive. 1946. 1946. So that's pretty cool. And I've always wanted to like read these, and I've just not worked up the discipline to read them every day. Ooh, I'm like scared I'm gonna like tear the pages. These things are so fucking old. But that's what I love about them is it's like I get to learn math, but also get to learn like history a little bit, But anyways, like maybe like reading one page a day and like sharing, doing maybe like a shorts thing where I'm like, this is my recap of learning one page a day, I don't know. You guys let me know. I think I'm gonna create like a community post and see where that takes me, and get you guys involved and be like, shoot some ideas, dude. So with that, I'm gonna go to bed because I'm tired, and which is a good thing. I'm not staying up like watching YouTube and shit until like fucking 2 a.m, which is good. But we like being able to actually fall asleep, which has been a struggle lately. So with that, I'm gonna try. And thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you so much for anyone that's watched any of the videos and has like kept up with the journey. That's pretty dope. And hopefully, I really hope that this has meant something to you. Again, that's not why I do it. Ultimately, this is about keeping myself accountable. But I appreciate people engaging, and the main thing is commenting. I don't really give a shit about views or subscriptions or this and that. And the reason why I like comments is because then it feels like I get to like share this with people, and actually like talk to them. So with that, I'm gonna go. I'm talking too much, and thank you guys so much, and I'll see you guys in the next video.